old friend, an old face we haven't had on the show for a while. Jeremy Covert, how you feeling, man?
I'm all right, man. I'm happy to be able to talk with you and kind of explain what has happened in my life, what is causing me to leave the wrestling industry, and kind of just wrap up, my whole career, and kind of have some closure to, something that was a huge part of my life for the past 5 years.
Well, and I want to say I appreciate you coming to me with this. Since my first day in the business, man, you've been cool to me. You've been respectful to me. We've had you on the show before. You've been an open book, and I know today will be no different. So, yeah, well, I mean, we might as well just hop into it here. You've been all over around here in the past few years, making a name for yourself. Before that, even, you kind of come and go, and you've kind of said why that is. But let's talk about the recent stuff. People are talking about this car ride and everything. Let's hear your version of the story.
I mean, I'm not here to, like I said, I'm not here to bury anybody. I'm not here to cause any harm to anybody or anything. Before we get into it, I would just like to say that, like, um, if somebody's going through something, and whether it be psych, mentally, or with drunk stuff or drugs or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you're with them and you don't know what to do, I would advise to call 911, which, is a good idea, or take them to the nearest hospital. Um, in my case, which we'll get into here, I do not blame the people that were in the car with me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what to do. They're young kids. I put them in a horrible situation, and it's not their fault. What happened? They
Mm-hmm.
did the best they can. But just for everybody or whoever's listening to this, if people are going through stuff like that, make sure they're safe. Um, because this really hits home to me. And my brother passed away by getting kicked out of a car on a highway, and he was hit by a car.
Oh, wow. I'm
This
sorry.
really, yeah, it was about 5 years ago. It sucked. So this really, it's an unfortunate situation, but like I said, I'm not trying to bury anybody, and this is not something um, that I'm doing with ill malice. Um, I mean, if we want to get into it, we were on a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, it was me. I'm sure everybody knows right now. It was me, Jason Hendricks, Cowpoke Paul, and Gorgeous Gregory. All great kids. Cannot say good enough things about them. All doing great things in their wrestling career, and we're all very good friends to me.
Okay.
Um, So we start off the road trip. It's in West Virginia this whole time. Don't remember, I think it was ACW we were wrestling for.
Okay.
Um, so I plan on a 1 day road trip. I didn't bring, so I'm on several medications for mental illness, um, anxiety, depression, all that stuff.
Okay.
And I did not bring those, and sleeping medication. I did not bring those on this trip. Um, that's my fault, obviously. I've gone a day, or so without them before, so I thought it'd be okay. We ended up staying for 2 days, and you know, I think it was clear that I was pretty irritable. Like, as I look back, I had, I'm not supposed to drink.
Right.
Period. I'm an alcoholic, and I shouldn't be drinking. And I had a couple drinks at dinner when we went to dinner, and they ended up going out, and I ended up staying in. Thank God, because it could have been much worse with the way I drank. Um, I fell asleep for a little bit, and I could not sleep. I was going through crazy anxiety, depression, just horrible stuff going on in my brain because of. And I talked to a doctor afterwards. Like, if I go off this medication, I'm going to go through hell, and I have to do it safely. If I do end up wanting to get off it, you have to wean off, and you have
Right.
to you have to do it correctly. And that's what happened to me. And I started drinking to go back to sleep. Did not work. I should not have done it. Um, it was a mistake. I don't really remember much. I was told that we were getting on the road, and me and Jason Hendricks got in like a wrestling match. They finally got in the car. They got me in the car, and I was just acting like a complete asshole. I barely remember anything. I guess I hit cowpoke, which the nicest kid in the world, and
Right.
me having this psychotic break, like it's just something that I would never do sober or with my medication. It's just like something I would that kid and Jason, and Greg, they're the nicest people in the world, and like it's just it's something that I feel bad for every day. Yeah, I don't remember it, but I was told about it. And hold on one second, I
Take your time.
gotta get my charger
No, you're good, bub.
here. But yeah, I was told. One second.
Take your time.
Um, I was told that I did this stuff. They did not know what to do, and I completely understand that. Like I said, young kids in the middle of nowhere, not knowing what to do. They ended up dragging me out of the car and leaving me on the highway. Um, and I don't really know what happened after that. The cops came up. Uh, Apparently, I was attempting to run in front of a car.
Oh,
Um, the cops saved my life. Um, they He took me in. Uh, I was charged with public drunkenness and obstructing because apparently when he had me on the side of the road, trying to figure out what was going on, I ran again in the middle and was barely missed by a car, try, trying to commit. Um, so the yeah, it was really rough, and they put me in jail, and since I was a suicide risk, they put me in jail naked for about 36 hours. Um,
mm,
it was super tough, man. I think that I needed to be in a hospital. I needed to be, again, I'm not placing blame on anybody. It's not their fault. They were scared for their lives because I was acting like a complete idiot in a car. Um, and they were scared that they could get in a wreck or something. And, I completely understand. Um, it's a miracle I'm not dead. Um, and I count my blessings every single day because sober me would not do something like that. Sober, and it sucks, man. That's still me, and that's something I have to live with because that's life. You could say you can blame it on being drunk, you can blame it on medications and stuff all you want, but at the end of the day, I have to live with that, and it's something I look back on, and it really sucks, man. Um, but that is kind of what happened. Eventually, the case was dropped. They understood that I had a doctor's excuse that I was not on my medication. I was not acting normally. I've been in a outpatient rehab program since that accident. It's been a couple months. I actually have it today after this, and I'm trying to get better. Um, when I'm sober, I can do good stuff. Like I've since then I've started my own company. It's going very well.
good.
But like I said, if I relapse, it's all over. It's just like it's not like I'm drinking days and days and days. It's just one night things or one day things that like can ruin my life. Like in you know that ordeal could have really I could have been dead. It's a miracle that I just got out of it with the consequence of not being able to wrestle anymore, which I think it was about time anyways. getting older, and I started late, and it just wasn't healthy for me anymore. So I'm not too upset about not wanting to wrestle. I've heard there's rumors about me reaching out to uh, promoters trying to wrestle again. That's not true. I don't know who made that up. I haven't talked to anybody in wrestling since this happened. I've tried to reach out to Cowpoke Greg and um, Cowpoke Greg and Jason, and Jason replied a couple times back, just being a nice kid. And I tried to reach out to Facade with no response, which I don't blame them for that. And I talked to Cole Carter. That's about it.
Okay. And
He's the only one in contact with.
I know two of the three, not as well as you do, but I know Jason and Cowpoke, and like you said, they're great kids. I'm sure Greg is as well. I'm
Mhm.
sure I can't imagine what was going through their mind. I know how close you guys were. I'm sure it broke their heart to take you out of that car. It must have taken a lot to get to that point. So, just
One
to,
hundred percent. I
yeah,
like I said, I wanted to put out a message that if you do have somebody that's in that position,
mhm,
to take them to the hospital. But in their position, they're young kids. They've never been through this. It was wrong of me to put them through this. Um, they didn't need to see any of that, and they did the best they could, and that's totally fine. And the only reason I said that is because what happened to my brother, and
right.
um, you know, that's
What do you think you would have done if you were at their age? There's no vet in the car. It sounds like you're the vet when it comes down to it. You're older than them, been in the business longer than them. Kind of switch scenarios. What do you think you would have done at that point?
at that age, I would have done the same thing they did. I don't, I don't, I don't know.
Yeah,
At that age, I was a complete, you know, I was, I would have probably done the same thing they did. That's why I place no blame on them, no ill will on my side towards them, and I completely understand any ill will towards me in that situation.
yeah, man.
I take full responsibility for it, and I do not put them in blame even the slightest.
Addiction's a bitch, man. I lost my mother to an overdose. Whenever I was cleaning up her apartment, I was finding oxycontins. I was finding where she was drinking rubbing alcohol before
Mm-hmm.
she overdosed, man. And I've struggled with addiction. I know plenty of folks that have struggled with addiction, whether it's alcohol, prescription medication, whatever it is, man. It sucks. What advice can you give to those that are in the business and struggling with addiction, trying to get from town to town? And like you said, there's going to be times you don't take your medicine with you. You're going to get loaded, or you're going to get the opposite. You're going to go through DTs. What advice can you give these guys?
I mean, honestly, the only advice I can give would be take a break from the wrestling industry. It's everywhere in wrestling. Um, I would say, take a little break, get better. I tried to do that as well, and I honestly shouldn't have went back. Um, I did okay for about 2 years when I was driving with Facade and Danny Moe. They kept me in check, and it was two that I can look back on those 2 years and say those were the best 2 years that I've had in wrestling. And I actually look back on those 2 years and I'm proud. The rest of it, I've relapsed, and I've burned a lot of bridges. Because of that. At 880, I did enjoy doing that, but I relapsed there too, and I missed a show. And Envy, out of the kindness of his heart, took me back, and that was amazing, and that place is awesome. Um,
Do you
but
think
yeah,
there's times when people are too nice?
yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely. To me, I try. I think I got along with people really good, and they became real life friends. And they wanted to be nice to me and not like I put Cowpoke in a couple uncomfortable situations where like he was drinking and I had a couple drinks, and he was, being a good friend, but he's a young kid. He was like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" You know,
Hmm.
he's like, "Okay," you know, because he's trying to help, but he doesn't. There's nothing he could do, and he was always such a good friend about that. Yeah, after those 2 years with Assad, I look back on wrestling, and it's not a fun thing to look back on, just because of me acting like a complete idiot. Um,
And
and
I,
in the relapses, they just if I touch alcohol to my to my lips, it becomes a Jekyll and Hyde situation because people know me sober, and I think for the most part they like me, but they also have seen me say things and do things when I'm drunk, and that's not a very likable guy.
right. I got to vouch for when you say, those were some of your best years, those 2 years. That was right when I was coming in, and you were one of the ones that I said, man, this guy's golden. You were starting up, giving them the business with Jeremy Colbert. I thought that was great. You were your match with Zeke Mercer. I always remember at Beckley. I mean, you were on fire, and then you just disappeared. And I asked everybody, "Where's Jeremy Colbert at?" And I gotta say, people they weren't bad mouthing you. They just said you needed a break. But give
Yeah.
me some of your favorite memories from that time period.
I mean, traveling with Facade and Danny, and that's when Cole Carter was still on the Indies with us, and Cole's my best friend. He's
Okay.
always been. He's a brother, um, literally a brother to me, and he uh, he ended up getting signed. But when we were on the road, and everything was great. We were hitting towns. We were going to Atlanta. We were driving all across the country, and it was fun, man. That's what wrestling is. That's what being an independent wrestler is all about. And I am very happy now that I look back that I had the chance to live that life for a couple years because it was amazing. It was exactly what I wanted to get into wrestling for, and I got to spend a couple years doing it. It was the funnest time that I've had in wrestling. And I wanted to start this just because I wanted to experience something like that.
Right.
And I was sick of the 9 to 5 life and everything. I've always been a rebellious guy. I did well in business, but like it was just I was sick of it,
Right.
and I had to do that. And I'm happy that I got to spend those 2 years with Assad and Danny and Cole and Zach Nystrom, and everybody that was in and out of the cars with us. It was an amazing experience, and I'll look back on that for the rest of my life and be proud of that.
Hell yeah. Good on you. And I'm glad that you had those, those good years there. I'm glad our paths crossed in those couple of years. We've had you on the podcast a couple times. Just for folks that haven't watched those podcasts, you were in Japan playing baseball. It's not like you've been sitting around and boom, you got into wrestling. You've been doing some things just to kind of catch the audience up before your wrestling days. Kind of let them know what was going on before then.
Yeah, I've lived like 4 separate lives. It feels like
Okay.
that are completely different. Like went to college, played baseball, played a little out of college. Um, that was a life in its own. Then I moved to like in the business world, and I was successful. Flew all over the place. I was an executive in several different companies. Like it was going really well, and my close friends know that. Some of them in the wrestling industry that I've always wanted to start my own business, and like the wrestling part was in itself a separate life just because that was so different than anything I've ever done.
Right.
And I lived like the full 80s like degenerate wrestling life. I went doing very well to alcohol and stuff, and then thank God it didn't end tragically. Yeah, it ended poorly for sure, and I hate that, but thank God it wasn't worse. And now I'm sober, back on my feet, and I had to find something that was not better than wrestling, but something that I could be just as passionate about. And that's my business now. But the passion I felt for wrestling was I've I loved it my whole life since I was like 6 years old. My grandma used to watch it, and her favorite wrestler was Too Cold Scorpio.
Nice. One of my
Which
favorites.
is kind of crazy. And I grew up watching it with her, and then I moved on to just start loving it myself. And it was a dream of mine, and I'm happy that I accomplished that dream. I wish it would have ended better, and hopefully people will see this, and hopefully, at least a couple of my old friends will reach out and be and help me out a little bit, and hopefully, I can at least talk to my friends in wrestling and explain. There's no explanation. I mean, I relapsed, and it's Jekyll and Hyde. I'm a horrible person when I drink, and that's obvious. Um, I just hope there's still some connections I can have with some guys like Facade and Danny and Cowpoke and Greg and Jason. Those are my guys. So
Right.
hopefully there's a day where we can talk again. That would be really nice. But
I'm always the first to say everything happens a reason. God kept you around for something. So you tell me you're starting up a new business. Obviously, you're pretty decent at business. What's going on right now? What are we working on?
I started a logistics brokerage. It's hard to explain. My friends, I've tried to explain it to them, and a couple of them in wrestling know that I've wanted to do that
Mm-hmm.
and know that I've been in that business. Um, so I started it up, and it's crazy, man. Life is completely crazy. I started it up kind of out of nowhere. It was on a whim, but I was like, I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do this to get over this wrestling thing. I have to find something I'm passionate about, and I started it with no money. Um, I had like a couple bucks from saving, but starting a business is not easy. And like, I've really found a uh, passion for a higher power. I'm still figuring out my spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
but when that happened, uh, I received a check from my brother's accident, um, an insurance check, and my whole family got it. It wasn't a crazy amount of money or anything, but it was enough for me to start this business and you know start it the best I can. And it's 5 years later, out of nowhere. It happened right when I decided to, right like 2 weeks after I decided to start this business. Like a, it was a message from God. It had to be, and it was a spiritual awakening for me for sure. Um,
Oh
so
yeah.
it's it's amazing how life works. It really
It
is.
it really is. And believe me, I know how an addict's brain works. You get that check. Was there a part of you that says, I don't deserve this? What the hell's going on?
Oh yeah, I mean 100%. I've been sober for a few months now, so
Congrats.
I kind of got my head on straight. But like, um, there's a part of me like, why? I've gotten so lucky in my life, like with things. Like there's been times where like I feel like I've acted such an asshole. I should be in jail or something, or like there's I've gotten I've been very blessed. There's somebody out there, somebody up there looking after me for sure, because all I can do now is take it and run with it and honor my brother and you know do the best I possibly can to make my business successful. And that's what I've been doing. But I also wanted to come on here and chat and kind of, like I said, get some closure to that part of my life, because it was a huge part for 5 years. It was literally my life. I lived, breathed, and uh, bled it. I loved wrestling, and everybody that was around me knew that, and they knew how passionate I was about it. Almost, I would say, too passionate. I mean, I went through several gimmick changes because all I could come up with new ideas like Jayce Karr, Jeremy Covert, blah 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 blah, and everybody's like, "You're like, why are you doing that?" And I just like all I thought about was wrestling and new ideas for it. Um,
That's
and it was almost a blessing. And a curse, more of a curse, just because like it was on my mind constantly. I loved it.
that's where I'm at right now. So I'll come to you for advice on this one because I'm the first to say you have to care every single day to be successful. You can't, oh, I like wrestling today. Wrestling's great today, and then not worry about it. No, you have to care every single day. But I think that's kind of a detriment to myself is where do you draw the line? Where can you see the line? How do you go about that?
I think I clearly crossed that line because I involved my life with wrestling. People knew I was an alcoholic. That was part of wrestling. That was part of my almost my persona. Um, I would say, and I've heard, WWE shoot interviews and stuff about like how this happens with people, and it's always a problem. I would say separate those lives as much as you can, and like the I should have never um, let people know about my my addiction, my alcohol addiction. Um, People in wrestling, at least, I could have told my friends in wrestling, but that never should have been a widely known thing that like even the fans know it.
Okay.
That should not have been part of my wrestling. I needed to keep that separate. So I didn't. I let my real life seep into my wrestling life, and that was really a big detriment to me. Um, Keep your friends close, but I'm not going to say keep your enemies closer, but keep your friends. It's hard to say. Your friends in wrestling, I know who my true friends are now. Um,
Right.
and I don't have many in wrestling. Um, Even though I thought they were like brothers for life, it's like when I stopped drinking the first time and I had to tell my friends that, I can't drink anymore. I can't go out with you guys. Um, that really cut down my friends.
Really.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I thought they were best friends, but they were drinking buddies. And the best friends I thought in wrestling were wrestling buddies, clearly, because I don't really have any. Cole's the only one I talk to.
I got you. And believe me, I've had friends come and go just in my short time, and I can't say it's because I won't go to the bars with them. Everybody knows I'm married and I'm doing my thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, like you say, they come and
Oh, it's
go.
not really going. I meant that like before wrestling when I did originally stop drinking,
Got you. Okay.
and I kind of had to separate. I told my friends at the time that I wasn't going to bars with them. This was like 10 years ago that I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to the bars with them, and then they slowly dwindled into not friends. You know what I mean? Because
Right on.
that's all we really did together was go to the bar. Um, and I realized that once I stopped drinking, that like, what else are we gonna do together? Uh, there's not much. And the wrestling friends that I thought I had, uh, and obviously Jason and George, or Greg and Cowpoke have a legitimate reason. Um, I wouldn't talk to me either, and I get that. I hope one day we can, but I don't hear from anybody. Is what I'm trying to say
I
after I
got you.
stopped wrestling.
Well, looking back on it, when do you think you peaked? When was your best moment, your best match? What do you think was your defining moment looking back on it?
I don't think I really had a defining moment.
One that you're proud of, though.
Yeah. Um, when I went down to WrestleMania with Hassan and Danny,
Mm-hmm.
when it was in Tampa, we got to wrestle on one of the indie shows. I hurt myself pretty badly in that match, but the next day we had a show in South Carolina on a beach, on Darius at Darius Records Bar in South Carolina, or Charleston. I don't know if that's North Carolina or South, but it was in Charleston, and the ring was set up on the beach, and there was like 500 fans more probably that just were watching on the beach, and that was the coolest moment. I wrestled Facade in that match, and I barely had one arm, but we still got through it. He carried me through it like he always does. But that was the coolest experience that I still look back on that match and watch it sometimes. It's very cool. Um, but the reason I say I don't really have a defining moment, I don't think I was. I don't think I was anything more than like a ride along driver, like just a friend. I was a friend. That's how I got my bookings because
Mm.
people liked me. I don't think I was necessarily that good. Um, I think I did okay in the ring. I wasn't very charismatic, I don't think. Um, but in the ring, I think I did well. I thought I was a good wrestler, like an actual wrestler, but everything else was not good.
Yeah. I have to say, man, on the outside looking in, I've never been on the road with you and everything, but going back to the first few times I watched you wrestle and everything, I was really impressed. Is it fair to say that you would get some momentum and then maybe it was the alcohol, I don't know what it was, but then boom, it would mess it up? Or is that just me looking at things?
100%. I
Yeah.
mean, that was the reason for after those 2 years, I did have momentum, and it
Mm-hmm.
was going really well. I don't even remember how that ended. To be honest with you, I think I actually got injured, but I'm sure it had to do with alcohol. I don't know what the situation was, but I'm sure I relapsed. I probably relapsed like 4 times in my wrestling career, and it was all one night relapses. They all caused my current run. Like the first run I had at IWC, um, I was I had a show at IWC. I was supposed to be the fourth member
Mm-hmm.
of Culmination, and I got abducted. They did the whole gimmick, and we were supposed to debut like a month later. Um, I moved down to Atlanta, Georgia, with a girlfriend, and I got drunk one night and called out Atticus on Facebook or Instagram, and they weren't supposed to know that. Like they weren't supposed to know that it was eventually going to be Atticus that was going against us, and people weren't supposed to know. And then I got lit up in the group chat at IWC,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically said "fuck you guys," um,
Mm-hmm.
and that my run at IWC was over. Like I haven't talked to Justin Plummer since then, and that's where I train. That's where I loved wrestling. It's very cool there. Uh, Honestly, the people kind of suck, um, but I told you I'd be honest, and I think everybody knows that. Yeah, they won't say it on a podcast, but they also have wrestling careers to worry about. Um, but
And I
yeah, that
think
was
you brought up a good point in that. You don't necessarily have to be in a building to screw up. You're not the first one to get a few drinks in you and get on social media and act crazy.
right, and that was definitely a big thing at IWC. That's when I lost my run, and I was drunk on social media. I don't really fuck with social media anymore. I try to stay off it as much as possible. Um, the only time I'm ever on it is to try to reach it. I've tried to reach out to my friends like once or twice. Never worked. But yeah, the IWC thing was my fault. It was all my fault. Every single instance was my fault because of the alcohol. I'm taking 100% blame for everything that went wrong. I don't know. There's people out there that think I'm like not self-aware about stuff, and I've heard people in the wrestling industry talk shit on me, and I don't even know them.
Okay.
Um, and that's happened so many times. I've never done anything to them. People just like talking shit, just like these rumors that I'm talking to promoters or something. It's fucking ridiculous. I would never do that. And like these rumors just come. That's what killed me the most. A lot of times, that's what led me to drinking was the bullshit in the locker room and like people not knowing what they're talking about. The IWC was the first thing that like people saw and they assumed things about me, made up rumors and everything. I've been honest the entire time that I fucked up and I was drinking
Mm-hmm.
during these times. Now, is that a excuse or anything? I don't know, but that's the truth.
Because
Um,
I'm sure in your mind you thought you were selling this story. You know?
in my mind, when I'm drunk, I don't have a mind.
Okay.
I mean, like I called out Atticus. I don't know why. It was it was just like a stupid thing. I tried to. I don't know. Whenever I'm drinking, there's no sense in me. I'm awful, awful drunk,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first time I got in trouble with wrestling. And then from then on, people knew. Everybody knew that I had an alcohol problem and held it against me sometimes. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes we were cool. Um, but the next time, think, if I'm correct, was at 880 when I missed a show, and that wasn't too public actually. People didn't really know,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a big thing that I missed a show for them. And I loved wrestling for them, and they did, and MB had plans for me and everything, but I shipped that away. So that was the second time I really lost a lot of momentum. Um, Injuries didn't help either. Like I've been injured several times. I knew I only had a few years in me to wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I started when I was 30 years old, and I knew there wasn't much that I could work with. So I wrestled like that, and I wrestled like you know like death matches and stuff. I wrestled like there was no tomorrow, um, which I got heat for too.
Well, while we're talking about MV, you said MV deserves some credit for giving you a second chance. Who else deserves a little extra love for giving Jeremy Colbert a second chance? Or is there
I think
anybody?
anybody. No, I would say there's tons of people. I think Facade has given me a second chance at times, multiple times. The one time I relapsed, I think it was a personal thing, but he was there. They Facade and Danny were talking to my dad. They were true friends to me. I still think they are. I just haven't talked to them. Um, I love Facade and Danny. I still do. They give me chance after chance. Um, and they went to bat for me. Cowpokes went to bat for me. And I shit, you know, I ruined that relationship, I guess. Um, there's been, Chris LaRusso was my trainer, and he always went to bat for me several times. Everybody that had a chance to go to bat for me, they did. And that's why I appreciate them so much. I didn't know everybody that I've been close with and talked to in person. I've had great relationships with. It's the people that I don't know who I was really talking about that, they assumed things. And, I get a lot of people were talking about me for a while, for, after the original, the 880 relapse, when
Gotcha.
I missed that show. It was from there on, I shouldn't have came back.
Okay. Is there anybody that can just straight up kiss your ass that you could do without?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I like everybody. I mean, I don't really have a serious problem with anybody.
Okay.
There's nobody I could say that can just kiss my ass. Honestly, even like Billy Knox that called me out for being an alcoholic on Facebook. I talked to him privately, and he's going through his own stuff. So like, I completely understand that. Like, I cannot think of anybody. Tim Cross has always went to bat for me. That's another one that I love. Um, he was always there for me. So anybody that could kiss my ass, no, I
No.
don't think so.
That's good to hear that you and Billy made amends because believe me, you guys were going back and forth pretty deep there on Facebook. So that gives people hope that if you
Mm-hmm.
guys can, put shit behind you, then I think other people can too.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. He explained, and I understand. I've been through it. I completely get it, and we kind of made amends and moved on. I'm trying to think, but there's none. Like, even I wrestled for Ian Rotten for a year,
Okay.
and
Not even Ian Rotten
he
could
was
kiss your ass, huh?
no, I mean, he was always good to me. He paid me at least. There's a lot of people that didn't pay me,
Right.
um,
Okay.
towards the end, and you know that is what it is. I wasn't really in wrestling for the money, anyways. But
What can you what can you tell those wrestlers that's just starting in the business and going to these shows, not getting paid, and might be struggling with addiction and all the stress that can come from indie wrestling? Believe me, I'm learning myself. It can be stressful. What kind of
yeah,
advice can you give the younger talent that's not aware just yet?
I would say just stop and smell the roses. Really try to love what you're doing. Don't take it too seriously, because it's pro wrestling, and I did. I took it way too seriously. Um, and don't involve, like, separate your lives, separate your personal life from your wrestling life. understand that, you're not going to get paid at the beginning, and you have to show what you can do, and just keep trying. The biggest mistake I think I made, other than the drinking, was not building a base. Like, I never really had a home. It was IWC, but like, even when I was getting the push or whatever, I was gone. Like, I was traveling, and I never built a base there. I never built a base really anywhere. Um, because I was always doing this match and that match and not really committing to one company. It was always, oh, I got a show in uh, Virginia, or I got a show in Ohio, or Chicago or something. Like, just, I never had a storyline and never really had anything like that.
That's
But
exact.
I would say commit to your home company and stay loyal to them.
I like that. I like that. And honestly, you took the words out of my mouth. Was it? And I think you kind of answered. Is it? It was more important to you. IWC's giving you a story. The other places, you're just wrestling some matches here and there. How important are stories in independent wrestling? Is it the end all be all, or can you go out there and have some good matches and still make a name for yourself?
I don't really know. It's never in really a story other than that culmination thing, and like, it
Is that
seemed like it
crazy to
was going to
you?
be
As much
fun.
as you wrestled, you never got any more storylines?
Yeah, kind of sucks, but it sounds like it would be very fun. Something that you could dive into, and like, I know people. It's not.
It's not
It
like you
is
weren't
my
getting.
fault. That
Yeah, but it's not like you
it's
weren't
my
getting a
fault.
fair shake. It's that's the way a
Exactly.
lot of these places in the area is. There's just no stories to be had. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And I was given IWC tried to do one with me. I think 880 had some story. I did small stuff with them, but that's my fault. I ruined it. Every time I had a push or something go well, I bit myself in the ass. And looking back, it's like crazy that I did all that. Like, it's crazy that people were counting on me. People were trying to push me into those storylines, and every time I just ruined it myself, just by my personal.
Fair. Are you still watching indie wrestling? Or are you watching any wrestling at all?
Uh, I don't watch indie wrestling. I love wrestling still. I
Okay.
watch Raw and AEW still. I have no like bad feelings about it. I'm working on myself to make sure that I don't drink anymore and everything. But every bad experience I had in wrestling was my fault, and I take full responsibility for that. And I have to cope with that with therapy and things with that, and I have to learn to accept that it's really hard, but I have no qualms with wrestling at all
Okay. Good.
as a whole.
So you got the new business. We're done with wrestling. Are we? Is it one of those deals we always say never in wrestling, or do you think it's best for Jeremy Cobra to stay away?
Right now, for the foreseeable future, I think it's best for me to stay away from wrestling. I will still always love it. Um, and one day, my dream would be to, partner with somebody, start a promotion or something. But like, I don't foresee that happening. um, that's way, way down the road. I would love to do something, be involved with indie wrestling, help out a company with some money or something like that. Um, but I don't think anybody's willing to take the risk right now, obviously. And I have some soul searching to do. I have some work to do on myself. But I would, yeah, maybe down the road, way down the road, I would love to. Never wrestling in a wrestling sense. I can't wrestle anymore. Both my knees are shot. I've had too many concussions, and I can barely, do hard labor without my knee giving out. Um, but yeah, I still love it. Still love indie wrestling. I love everybody that I came in contact with there, um, that were my friends and knew me. Um, the people that knew me, we we were friends. I, my friends were great there.
I was going to say. So it sounds like you're still very grateful for the time you had in wrestling.
Yeah, I'm grateful for everything that happened. I don't like to look back and have regrets. Um, I think for a time period, I did it right. And, I only have myself to blame for the things that went wrong. It was never my intention to get signed or anything. Um, I just wanted to have fun, meet some new people, and, try to get in shape. And, yeah, I look back on it and I have to cope with the fact that, I got to get better and I have to work on myself and I have to stop self sabotaging things, because that's all I did.
Good. Good. Like I say, it sounds like you're in the right place right now for you. So good for you. And I know you've got a AA meeting coming up. You're a busy dude. We're coming into the tail end of the show. Final 10 minutes, Jeremy. You know how we do. I give everybody a chance to promote their socials. You don't like social media, so screw that. At the same time, I ask them for advice to younger wrestlers. You gave the advice. So anything else you want to put out there, the platform's all yours. Again, you've always been super cool to me. I was impressed with you since day one. I wish you nothing but the best. But anything else you want to put out there, the platform's all yours, my man.
Um, I just want to, I guess I just want to say that, like, to everybody that I hurt, or like Greg and Jason and um, Cowpoke, I love you guys. And Cowpoke, me and you shared you know, some of the best times of my life. And I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry to all of you, but Cow, Cowpoke, you're my best friend, man. And I, uh, I hope nothing for the best for you. And you know, it's really hard to deal with the fact that I messed that friendship up. Um,
It's fair.
I love you. I love you, and I hope nothing for the best for you.
Well, he's out here fighting Donovan Dijak for the Rise title. He's doing great. Jason Hendricks, shoot, he's got Lee Moriarty coming up. So those guys are doing good. And yeah, I think it's best for Jeremy Colbert. You're doing what's best for you, man. And believe me, I made a post on Facebook today. I said this one's going to catch me some shit, but I think it's necessary. I felt this was necessary. As soon as I made that post, people started asking. And the few that I told, there was some that said, "Oh man, you're going to get some heat for this." So what? I think it was necessary. You said whenever we talked about this interview, you said if I can help one person with this, I think it's worth it. So if anybody has any problem with it, I guarantee you this is going to help somebody. You know, so and you've always come on this show and been straight up and honest. So I thank you for that, man.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of say my piece. That I hope it doesn't get you too much heat. That was not my intention. Um, but yeah, hopefully somebody will hear it and just get help. Like, I'm getting help now, and it's so much better. Like, my life is so much better, and like as long as I just keep doing the right thing, I know I could be a good man, and that's all I want to be. And I'm for the stuff. It's really comes down to what happened in that car. And, it was a horrible time in my life, and I truly, deeply apologize. And if I could talk to you guys, it would be, that would be great. But like, if you guys see this, I love you, and keep on keeping on, man.
I appreciate it. Hell yeah, Bubby. I'll ask you to hang on the line with me again. I appreciate your honesty. In my point of view, oh my, there's an alcoholic in wrestling. Can you believe that? There's way, way, way worse things going on. Just check Facebook today, and I promise you, there's way worse things going on. Not saying what you did in that car was right or any other things you did was right. You said it was wrong. It is what it is. But there's way worse going on, I assure you of that. So, with that in mind, treat each other with kindness and respect. Go out there and live your dreams. Look out for yourself. I think that's what we've learned from this episode. Sometimes you got to take time for you. Make sure you're okay. So, do that for Spooky Lou. And we'll see you with another one real soon. Appreciate y'all. All we're doing, the channel's popping off. And Jeremy Covert, I thank you again, sir. We love you, and we're out of here.